news,
Lobbyists are fed up with politicians accepting their money and then not coming through.
opinion,
When the automated police force orders you inside, that's just them doing their job.
remix.
Even lost my job partially due to the whole global warming issue. Increase in oil prices. This guy's scared.
This is Top Story with Kelly Klaas and Jill Skeen,
I've been a listener for about 20 years.
I'm talking to you makes me feel better.
where the news meets your opinion. Pick up the phone and talk about it. 736-0300. That's 736-0300. Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, Kelly Klaas and Jill Skeen.
Good morning and welcome to Top Story, 736-0300, and good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Cal.
Nice to have you here this morning.
Thank you.
We're going to get right to it, actually. We will save our little news bits and such for a little bit later. We do have Magic Valley Speedway coming in. Well, we don't have the Speedway coming in. We have a representative from the Speedway coming in this morning. Another race day coming up at Magic Valley Speedway.
Yeah.
At 9 o'clock, I believe we have Twin Falls Mayor Don Hall for State of the City and some stuff to talk about in the meantime. But yesterday, if you will remember, the judge, 5th District Judge Randy Stoker made a decision with the Idaho GOP that was scheduled a meeting for August 2nd. And he refused to issue an injunction against that meeting. Also said that Barry Peterson is not the chairman anymore. So we felt, well, we'll get somebody in here to talk about that. So we have Mike Mathews, who is you are the first vice chair of the Idaho GOP.
Yes.
All right, and we also have the Idaho GOP attorney, Jason Risch, with us this morning. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning, Kelly. Morning, Jill.
Nice to have you all here. So the crux of the matter is, in the ruling yesterday, Barry Peterson is out or has not been in, I guess, since the convention. And the meeting this Saturday is going to elect a new chairman for the party. And who else?
It'll elect, by the way, good morning, Kelly. Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning
Mike.
to you, too.
Thank
yes.
you. Thank you for having Jason and I on. We appreciate it. Thanks
You
for the
bet.
time.
Well, actually, I want to ask you something first. Were you surprised at the ruling?
I don't think I was surprised. I think we were happy with the ruling. We were really happy that the August 2nd meeting was going forward because, from the beginning of this, I think there was, the members of the Central Committee, myself included in that, felt like we needed to get to an election. We needed to have an election of our officers. Going back to your question, Kelly, it's the chairman, first vice chair, second vice chair, treasurer, and the secretary will be elected.
Okay.
So those 5 positions.
Now, since those positions ended at the adjournment of the meeting, have you actually not also been the first vice chair, or?
From the judge's ruling, I basically he said that I was no longer, my position was vacated as
Right.
well as those other officers. Those 5 officers were vacated after the adjournment of the convention.
Okay. Okay.
So how does that work then? But you're still moving. So what's your position with this meeting and organizing it?
I will be. I'm going to run again for first vice chair. The Central Committee will decide who's going to run the meeting, and so they will have to come together to decide who's going to run the meeting and who will ultimately, I think the first thing, the first order of business is that probably have somebody run the meeting, and then they'll do the chairman position first, and then once we get a chairman, he'll take over probably from there, or he'll allow that person that was running the meeting to run the meeting.
So Jason Risch is the attorney for the Idaho GOP. Do you feel somewhat vindicated now in that when this first happened, you came out and said, wait a minute, this isn't right. He's no longer the chairman. Do you kind of feel better about your decision now?
Well, the word vindicated is pretty strong. We're just happy that the judge ruled the way he did. I wasn't particularly surprised by his ruling. As you said, I came out a month ago with this opinion, and that opinion had been actually reviewed in detail by the Republican National Committee, and the lawyers over there took a look at what I did and the legal conclusion that I came up with, and they agreed with me. And of course, it's always good when the court agrees with you as well. It's part of being an attorney. You get your opinions reviewed by the court quite often. So yes, it's comforting to know. Also I think it's appropriate that we do give a nod to Judge Stoker. Judge Stoker read everything that was submitted to him in a very short amount of time. He was very well versed in the rules of the Idaho Republican Party and Roberts rules, which are two things that judges don't always find themselves confronted with every day, but it was very, very clear that the judge was up to speed on this going into the hearing yesterday.
Yeah. Now, we still have a rift between what we call, I guess, the Butch Otter followers and the Barry Peterson followers. So, Mike, how is that going to be handled this week?
Well, we kind of like to look at this as, this is a family feud. Every families have their spats, and we hope that with the judge's ruling that people will kind of get on board and that we'll move forward from here. Now that we have a direction, I'm hoping that everybody gets on board and we can elect a chairman and then get to the business of electing our candidates in November is what we should be doing, and so that's, that I think is the main thing, and I'm hoping that with this direction now that the judge gave us, that we can move forward and get that done.
Have you talked to Barry Peterson or the other side, and are they accepting of the ruling? Well,
after the court hearing, we were all outside. Barry came up and he said, I have no hard feelings, and I said I don't either, and we just need to move forward at this point. And so I'm hoping that is the case. I hope that we all just kind of move together, and, we can come together with this direction, and hopefully, we can come back together and be unified again. So
either one of you, I guess, can answer this question, but I guess the fight, if you want to call it that, hasn't necessarily been so much maybe, and maybe I'm wrong in assuming this, about the direction, but rather than just following the rules. You have rules to follow, and whichever group has the majority, they're the ones who have the ball, I guess you might say. But you kind of need to follow the rules. Is that kind of what this dispute has been about?
I think so. I think and I think probably both sides had interpreted the rules in their own way, maybe. But I think that in the end, I think that. From my perspective, I think we were just trying to follow the rules and get to the proper conclusion for the best of the party. I mean, I think that was, in my mind, that was the key thing, was let's follow the right steps so that we can get to an election and we can move forward as a party.
So what about the platform? I know that nothing really was decided at the convention.
Yeah.
It sort of was a waste of time. What happens now? I know you're going to elect the officers, but then do you go through a platform and the other things, or is it just too late for that?
Well, the unique thing about the Republican Party is we have a set of rules, but within those rules there's two sets of rules. There's ones for the state party, the Central Committee, and then there's rules for the convention. The platform is solely under the convention, as I understand it. Now, Jason, you can help maybe correct me if I'm wrong on this. So I'll rely on my counsel. So.
Sure. That is certainly in flux, but traditionally speaking, it is convention that handles that, and so that issue is something that the state party will have to deal with. On Saturday, we are merely having an election for officers. That's the only business that's going to be conducted, but we do have regularly scheduled meetings the next one regularly scheduled will happen in January, and so that'll be something that I'm sure will be addressed by the party at that time. And the platform as it existed, I think everybody looks at that as that was our platform before, and it is going forward. And while the convention makes little changes to that from time to time, generally speaking, that platform has been the same for many years.
Okay, so that's pretty much what people can expect. Nothing's really changed on that form.
There's been a lot of talk about, boy, this is doing a lot of damage to the Republican Party, and so many Republicans are probably going to vote Democrat now. Do you think that that's really going to happen? Because I've maintained all along that a Republican will vote for a bad Republican before he will a good Democrat. Do you think that's is that fair to say?
I'm hoping that this doesn't drive people to the Democrat Party, and that we can like I said, with this direction, I'm hoping that we can kind of come back together and unify. And then we have August, September, October, November till, or most of not all of November, but we have a few months here that I'm hoping that we can unify everybody, get everybody back together, and move forward. And I think we're going to be okay. I do. I feel like we with this decision it gave us a path forward. And once we have the election and we get a chairman, then we'll go forward and do get the party engaged in electing Republicans and doing the work that we should be doing, electing Republicans.
So who's up for chairman? Is it, does it depend, obviously, who the chairman's going to be, really kind of the tone of the party. So who is there someone from basically the Barry Peterson side as opposed to Governor Otter side? Like, who's up for this? And it can affect the party again, can it?
Yeah, I mean, always your leadership can have some,
Right.
Will have an impact on, the tone and the direction of the party. Right now, I've heard three names: Steve Yates from Eastern Idaho, Mike Duff from Eastern Idaho, and Doug Pickett from down in Oakley area. Those three names. And so,
Do you know which either way they swing, or do you want to comment on that?
well, I'm still kind of myself learning about the candidates, and so I'm, just like kind of everybody else, we're in a short order. We're going to have to gather as much information as we can between now and Saturday, and figure out, who we're going to elect, and try and pick the best one of the three. Yeah. So,
and someone can put their hat in the ring that day, can't they? I mean, is it just like anyone can?
Yeah, as long as the nomination comes from a state central committee member on the floor, they'll take nominations, and anybody can pretty much throw their hat in the ring at that point, I think.
And whoever is elected as the chairman this Saturday, they will be the one going to the National Republican meeting coming up the following weekend.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Along with two others. So right now, the last we heard was Barry Peterson had his own keys to the office, and the checkbook was frozen. So once you get a chairman elected, I assume that